Good morning, Bob. How you doing?
Hey, Bob.
Good morning, Wimp Barry. How are you?
Oh, we're doing okay. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much.
Well, great. I hope you have a great Christmas. I know basketball went through it for a long, long time. Basketball and Christmas are hard to mix a little bit, trying to practice and get you guys back. I always worried about my guys going home for Christmas, afraid they wouldn't get back on time. I bet I had my assistants call them 15 times a day. Because I didn't, and the reason for that, Bob, was I wasn't sure what I was going to do discipline-wise if they showed up late.
Yeah, that's a tough one to discipline on a holiday like Christmas.
Yeah, I didn't know what to do. I had one in Huntsville, probably hurt, too. I never could tell what he was going to do.
The tough part about the holidays is your guys have a game prior to the break.
Yeah.
And you wonder sometimes where their head is prior to them getting the 4 or 5 days maybe that you give them to get back home and visit with family. So
that's why Dad always
them focused as well.
That's why Dad always played Little Sisters of the Poor before Christmas. Because if he played somebody good and we lost, we weren't getting much for Christmas.
We didn't lose for Christmas.
You did one time. You lost one time, and it was not a very good Christmas, Bob. Yeah. Just let me say that to you. Hey, Bob, I want to ask you. About Braxton Key a minute. We talk about Jalen Hurts last year. He kind of got to practice with Alabama leading up to the bowl game against Clemson. He played Deshaun Watson. I hear their players kind of were looking at each other like, good Lord, we got us one here. You guys got you one in Braxton Key. I know when you watch him at Oak Hill, it's a great place for him to go because he gets to play against great competition. But when did you guys kind of realize, you know what, we got a pretty special freshman here that's gritty, he makes big shots? When did you guys realize that, Bob?
We probably didn't realize that until really our season started.
Yeah.
We always thought he was going to be pretty good. I had recruited him for quite some time, actually since he was a freshman. When I came to Alabama and I introduced him to Coach Avery, he had a chance to see him on film prior to getting out in the July recruiting period. Really liked everything he saw with Braxton on film, and he didn't necessarily have a spectacular July. But then as he started to play through his senior year at Oak Hill, you saw glimpses of where he could possibly be in your program. It could be one of the better players maybe in the country. And but you know what? There was a transition between high school and coming to Alabama's campus in June and July. The transition, he was a little slow, just not real confident. And so you start to scratch your head a little bit and you go, hey, where's the guy that I thought was going to be this killer, coming in here and just dominating the game. But he just needed some confidence. And, you stick with those guys because you just don't know. Everyone's a little bit different. But he got an opportunity to sit the first few games, kind of get used to what, the atmosphere was going to be like, allow the game to kind of take place a little bit before he'd come in. And so we kind of moved him in. Coach did a good job of just trying to move him into the starting lineup slowly but surely. But he had to prove himself as well. But I'll tell you what, after he started getting out on the floor, you could see his confidence level changed, and he just really fit in nicely.
Bob, we go through trial and error in basketball. I did, you did, and everybody does, trying to figure out exactly best combination for your team, your best substitution pattern. And, y'all struggle a little bit shooting the basketball in the second half down the stretch. And I would assume that you look at who's shooting it and also shot selection. But I think your basketball team has a really, and I'm saying this being honest, I know Oregon will be tough, but I think starting the conference, just this basketball team is going to turn the way you want it to turn.
Well, we look at our team sometimes, and we look at what kind of experience do we have on our team.
Yeah.
And some of the guys that are playing some major minutes right now, like Daison Ingram, he's only played 14 college basketball games.
Yeah.
Braxton Key's played 7 basketball games. I know Dante Hall's played, off and on a little bit last year. He always played in every game, but, his minutes always, would vary. But wasn't a steady diet of just long minutes. So his development is coming along, but we need, again, continue to have upperclassmen leadership from guys like Riley Norris, Jimmy Taylor, Shannon Hale, guys like that, to help some of these younger guys along.
Yeah.
And so we're really counting on those guys to step it up, start playing a little bit better, showing a little bit more leadership. But I definitely like the direction our team is going in. I thought against Texas we played maybe as good a first half as we've played all year, and just struggled to come back out in the second half. Even though we were in the game, I mean, it was like 3 minutes and we were only down a couple points.
Yeah.
On the road, sometimes those things can happen, and that's where just youth, inexperience will sometimes set in, and there's nothing you can do about it. These guys have to go through those situations so that they know how to handle them the next time, they're presented to themselves.
You're right.
Yeah, Bob, you bring a good interesting point. You probably just answered the question, but, you lost the Dayton game down at the end. Dayton a little bit older. They execute a little bit better. Maybe the same thing happened at Texas. What do you do with your team? I guess they just got to get in those situations. Can you do that in practice, time and score, maybe put 5 minutes on the clock and try to reinvent that situation? How do you handle that to where maybe when these guys get in that situation again, they can close better?
Yeah, you're never gonna duplicate the level of intensity that a game brings. But we definitely tried to put our guys in some situations in practice where the biggest thing is just stay confident, stay organized, and know what you're trying to get accomplished. And so you have to do that through repetition. You don't want them to see, a tie score with, under 30 seconds, you've got the ball, and you have no idea what you're going to do. So you have to plan for these things in practice. You have to have repetition, and your guys have to be organized. And we were even having this discussion with them as early as yesterday in practice. We may not have a timeout. We may not have the opportunity of a dead ball. So it may be in the flow, and you've got to be able to take some instructions quickly from the sideline, and then you just got to be able to execute. So, yeah, these are some things that we have to continue to repeat in practice, and hopefully they will just become a norm once we get ourselves back in that situation again.
Bob, this is not about Alabama basketball, but it's about the game of basketball. And I see a parade at the free throw line early every year, a big parade this year, which means that free throw shooting is so important. As we go along, it works itself out, but it's a little bit bothersome to me to see people going. And I'm not asking you to comment on the officials. I'm just talking about the game of basketball as a whole. For a guy who likes basketball but doesn't know a lot about it, it's sort of, it's kind of got to weed itself out as you go through the season.
In relationship to just the
number of fouls called, and the touching the hand, the touching of the hands, which you want to play defense with your feet anyway, but you can't keep from doing that. I think the best rule that's gone out of there is, thank goodness, it's the 5-second count. I'm so sick of that.
Yeah, well, let me say this, Will.
Okay.
Let me say this, because I think, I struggle with officials. I watch a lot of film, so it doesn't even have to be an Alabama game that I'm watching.
Yeah.
I can be watching anybody in the country play, and man, when I see a bad call, it just really, it grinds my stomach, you know. But the NCAA has made it so difficult for these officials to officiate a game. The rules are constantly changing.
Yep.
They're trying to, get away from physicality and free movement on offense and defense. What's a hand check? What's an arm bar? What's a travel? To me, like everybody else, would love to see just a perfect game where the officials don't come into play. They're a part of the game, but they're not the centerpiece of the game. You want the players to be the centerpiece of the game. and you want them to entertain and compete at a high level without them being handcuffed. But the officials have such a difficult job because of the way you got three guys that could see the play all differently on one occasion.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And most of the time it happens that way.
Yeah.
And, you know, I remember, I mean, you remember, you never had three officials probably. You probably always were coaching games when you just had two officials, and it just seems like the game has been more complicated with three.
I think you probably have. Yeah.
And so, you know, you just try to do the best that you can to not allow them to, you know, maybe control the game and allow the players to.
Yeah, well, you know, I know you don't talk about your players. My point was just, you know, John Q fans sitting there watching the game, we want him to enjoy the game. You know,
right,
want him to come to your games. If I watch a game on television and I enjoy it, I want to get them to go to an Alabama game. And it just seems to me like that it continues to be a lot of parading to the free
well, they
throw
just
line.
won't. They won't
a
let
lot
these.
of things that'll happen too is as the season starts to get a little bit deeper, you know, the officials seem to back off a little bit. They always do.
That was the point I was making.
They try to, you know, institute the new rules and the new way that they want to officiate games, and then it just starts to smooth out a little bit, and the games start to become better a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, they become way better probably after the holiday.
Yeah, it just seems like if they could call it advantage, disadvantage. If I put my hands on a guy, but where he's 88 feet from the basket, I don't do anything to him, then let it go. But if he's, you know, if he's within 15 feet and driving, I hand check him, that's different. But they don't seem to do it that way. Bob, tell us a little bit about Oregon. I know you guys leave for out there today. Alabama will take on Oregon. 5 o'clock Tuscaloosa time on ESPNU. It was an excellent game last year in Birmingham, but how is this Oregon team? How many guys they got back off of last year's team?
Well, everybody is back primarily. Their team hasn't really changed a whole lot. They're starting five. They're actually Peyton Pritchard is a freshman who's has kind of taken over that role for Casey Benson, but they both split time at the point guard, but everybody else is back. So, you know, Boucher and Tyler Dorsey and all those guys are back. Brooks is, I think, a preseason All-American. It's a very talented team. You know, we've got a great challenge ahead of us. We're excited about playing these guys. I think for some of the guys that are back from last year, they know how heartbroken they were when we left the arena last year and had a chance to beat them here in Birmingham. So, you know, they're very well-rounded. They shoot the ball. They're athletic. They're tough at the rim. It's going to be a great challenge for us, and I think our guys will be ready. Good.
Yeah, it's Oregon. It'd be a nice win if you go out on the road, but it's taking your team on the road. You find out a lot about your guys. It gives them another opportunity to grow. One of the guys before we let you go, I know Avery's not going to talk a lot about it, but I think Avery Jr. has done a really nice job for you guys coming off the bench. He's made open shots, but he seemed to distribute the ball. How has it been coaching Avery Jr.? I think he's played really well for you.
He's played extremely well. I mean, we've talked about this. He's one of the guards that will get the ball downhill.
Yeah.
You know, and make a play at the basket. There's been a number of occasions where the ball gets moving around on offense and he's wide open for a three and he'll make it. So, you know, really right now he's doing everything and more that we've asked him to do.
Yeah.
He's a guy that's coming off the bench right now that you have confidence in, and you know he's going to do his job and he's going to try to do it the best that he can. He's not selfish. He shares the ball. He understands what we're trying to do offensively and defensively. He's been and again, I know Avery probably won't talk, but he'll say, yeah, he's done a good job.
Yeah.
You know, but he has really done a good job.
Oh, yes.
And you know, we're happy that, you know, he's embraced his role, and I think he's playing very, very well. The last couple, 2-3 games, he shows that he can put the ball in the basket as well.
Yeah.
God, we need that, right?
No doubt. Well, Bob, we appreciate it.
Thanks,
I know
Bob.
it's early. We appreciate you getting on with us. You guys have a safe trip out there. You guys leaving today?
Yeah, we're actually departing campus around 10 o'clock, so we've got a long day ahead of us. We're going to fly out of Atlanta and make our way out to Portland and then down to Eugene. So we've got a pretty good day ahead of us.
Thanks, Bob, for being on. Good
Bob.
luck out
Appreciate
there.
it.
We'll be
Thank you.
watching.